Hello my loves, it's Monica and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about some fall cozy games on the Nintendo Switch, and I've split this video up into three key parts. So in the first part I'm going to be talking about some cozy Nintendo Switch games that have come out in the past few months, some more recent releases that I've just been loving. Then I'm going to be talking about some games that are currently on sale in the Nintendo eShop that have maybe been out for a bit longer but are definitely worth checking out if you haven't yet. And then lastly, I'm going to be talking about a couple of upcoming releases for the Nintendo Switch that I am so excited to play and get my hands on. Before I dive in though, I just want to have a really quick check-in with especially my US audience. Are you all registered and ready to vote this November? I'm really excited to actually be partnering with Climate Power, which is an organization that I love, to help spread the word about registering and being ready to vote in November. Climate Power and Michelle Obama's organization, When We All Vote, have come together to create this website called votefuture.org, where you can go to double check your voter registration, find your polling place, and make sure that you have a whole voting plan. It's amazing. It takes literal seconds to just double check that you are ready to vote this November. These midterm elections are pivotal, especially if you care about the climate, which we should all care about the climate. Recently, the Inflation Reduction Act was passed, and this is the single largest piece of legislature that has ever been passed in the US related to the climate. And it's super important, but it's also just the very first step in a long list of things that we need to do in order to continue this fight for the climate. And we especially need climate champions in positions of leadership in order to keep up this fight. It's scary because if the opponents to climate action get in power, they are going to be blocking any future wins around the climate. And even scarier, they will likely try and roll back any wins that we've already gained. But voting is such an important part in continuing to build momentum for environmental progress. And just to rattle off a quick stat for you all, there are an estimated 8.3 newly eligible young voters in this upcoming election. So that's the youth vote, people who have turned 18 since the 2020 elections. That is a massive number. So make sure you have a voting plan. Make sure that your friends have one too. Send them the website so that they can double check their registration status. So once again, you can commit to being a climate voter by heading to votefuture.org and checking your registration process and getting your voting plan in place. This is so important, so if you haven't done this yet, please do. But now, without any further ado, I'm going to be talking about some cozy games. So first of all, we are going to be talking about some new releases, and the first game that I want to talk about is Potion Permit. Now, I've been playing Potion Permit for the past couple of days. I am very thankful that the developers reached out and gave me an early access code, but I believe by the time this video goes live, the game will be out officially on Switch, and it is so fun. It's even more fun than I think I was expecting. I will be honest, I feel like I've been feeling a lot of fatigue with these like sort of time management, farming sim, life sim games that have just been coming out, and it's been hard for me to like find ones that truly feel unique. You know, I think Disney Dreamlight Valley is an amazing one. I didn't include that in this video roundup because I feel like I've talked about it quite a lot. Potion Permit just really surprised me with how refreshing of a take it is on the sort of like staple in the cozy gaming world. Like, yes, it has a lot of the sort of hallmarks of the style of game that it is. You know, there's fishing, there's foraging, there's building relationships with the townsfolk, but the world itself just feels so unique and fun to explore that it doesn't feel repetitive, or it doesn't feel, you know, too much like something that I've already played, if that makes sense. And I also like that the game prioritizes different things than a lot of other games that I've played have prioritized. So you don't really farm on this in this game at all, at least as far as I've gotten. You don't really farm, but you do a lot more foraging, and foraging matters a lot more. And I really like that. I love foraging, and I always sort of wish that like it was a bigger part of other games that I've played. So it's really nice to just like have that be a big part part of the game itself. So I love that. I will say that you are like fighting creatures more than you are in other games that I play, and I'm usually not, like, I don't normally like games where you have to like fight, like battle creatures or whatever, but I find that to all be like pretty low stakes, low stress in Potion Permit, so it's like not too much for me. But I also just like really love the mini games that you play in the game. So things like when you're making the actual potions, you're basically playing this like Tetris style mini game, and I find that to be so fun. Like, it's such a fun little puzzle to like try and figure out which pieces you should be using in order to like make the correct shape in order to make your potion. I also love just like the little mini games that you play when you're trying to diagnose patients. All of that just felt very unique and refreshing to me, and yeah, I've just been loving playing within this world, and I feel like it is such a perfect like autumn pick because of the whole potion making side of things, and foraging in general just feels very autumnal, something about it. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I was a little bit hesitant about it. I wasn't sure if I was going to love it, but I have. It's so much fun, so much more fun than I even thought. Next is a game that I was also hesitant to get because it's a dungeon crawler, but it's so much more than a dungeon crawler, and it's Cult of the Lamb. So yeah, I have only really ever played one dungeon crawler, and that's Hades, and I love that one because even though it's not really my normal style, I don't really love combat. I push through for Hades because I love the story so much. It's so compelling. But Cult of the Lamb, when I heard it was a dungeon crawler, I kind of just like didn't even continue looking into it. And then I got recommended it so many times by so many of you all that I was like, okay, I'm gonna finally look into this game. Yeah, it is a dungeon crawler, but it also has this like cozy base simulator side of things that is also like really lovely and fun. You are fighting against these beings who have trapped your deity, and then you return back to your base and you're trying to build it up so that you can recruit more followers in your cult and just make your base as like comfortable for people as possible. But at the same time, like, it does have creepy elements to it. Like, you can sacrifice members of your following. I believe you can also like eat them. like there's definitely some creepy elements to it. It is like showing this very creepy story of this cult, but it does it in this very like playful, cute way that I think is like such a perfect pick for like Halloween time, especially if you're someone who is maybe not into like the truly scary games, but you do want something that is, you know, a little bit creepy, a little bit spooky for Halloween. I think this is the absolute perfect one to pick up. If you want more recommendations for like creepy, eerie games for fall, I do have a whole other video that I made last year with more recommendations, so you could check that out. So if you are watching this and you're like, but what about this game? It might be in that video, so go check that one out because there's even more there. And then lastly, for the newer games that I want to talk about is Strange Horticulture, and this one is delightful. This is the perfect game to play when you want to dim the lights, have a candle, drink some tea, and then play a little puzzly, planty game. Yes, it's perfect. So in this game, you play as this horticulturist who is new to town, and you are trying to sort of learn the ropes on the job, and you are armed with a book that has like various description of plants, and then you have all of your plants above you, and customers come in and they ask for specific plants, and you use the book to try and basically figure out which plant they're looking for. And there's a bit more to it than that. Like, you know, you can travel to different areas to get new plant listings, and you have a cat that you can pet. If you haven't played it yet, it can sound like quite boring, but there's something just so lovely about it. It's so soothing. It's again, it's the perfect game to cozy up with like a cup of tea and just like casually spend like 15 to 30 minutes just picking out some plants and having a good vibe, and then, you know, chilling. It's the perfect game for that. It's like such a good wind down game, and I've just been loving doing exactly that with this game, and I can't recommend it enough. It's also just like beautiful. I think like the ambiance of it is a big part of why I love it so much. It's always raining. You're in this sort of like historic version of like some sort of, you know, English town. I don't know if it's London or what, but it just feels so perfectly like rainy autumn vibes, you know? So would highly recommend checking that one out if you haven't yet. I'd also definitely recommend it for fans of games like Coffee Talk, where again, you're sort of just like meeting customers and fulfilling their orders, but there's something like in that repetition so satisfying about the experience. And I will say, like, even though it sounds very repetitious, like the clues that you get and that you have to decipher in order to figure out which plants people are looking for keeps the game feeling fresh and prevents it from feeling really static, for me at least. So would highly recommend that one for sure. So now I'm going to dive into some games that are currently on sale. Now these games are on sale as of the day that this video is going live, but eShop sales change and end, you know, at various times. So if you miss this sale, I would just keep checking back on these games, because they often, like, once a game starts going on sale, often you'll find it going on sale again in the future. And also, if you just want to keep up with more cozy games and sales and stuff, make sure that you are subscribed and have the bell notifications turned on so that you get future alerts for videos from me. I'll also, I'm going to be doing more videos on TikTok sharing some like cozy games that are on sale, so you can follow me over there. But anyways, the first game I want to talk about here is the game What Remains of Edith Finch, and this is one that I would recommend if you like the idea of a video game that almost feels like reading a book, because that is the best way that I can describe this game. And I don't want to give too much away, because I just feel like discovery in this type of game is so important. But basically, you are following the various lives of this family, of all these people who have died in this family, and you are seeing their memories and, you know, exploring this house in order to find their memories and see their last moments. And it is a very beautiful game. It feels very, you know, it's atmospheric. You're walking through this old home. Like, this game was just so beautiful. Like, I left it feeling so in awe at like multiple intervals of playing it, and I loved just like getting to know the different members of the family through their memories and their stories. And it's such a beautiful game. If you love stories and you just want to experience an amazing story in video game format, this is the one that I think you should definitely pick up. It's stunning. And again, I don't want to say too much, so I'm not going to, because I don't want to like spoil things or take away from the experience, because I do think like just playing it for yourself is, you know, so amazing. I will say that it is not like, there's not a ton of gameplay, you know, you're kind of just playing to progress the story versus like battling things or like doing a ton of puzzles or stuff like that. But if you're okay without that and you just want an amazing story and you're open to that sort of game, then I highly recommend checking this one out. And it's only $5.99 right now, so that's a pretty amazing deal. The next game is kind of in a similar vein, but it's even cheaper. It is under $5, I believe. Oh, how much is it right now? It is $4.49. And that is Gone Home. And this is one that's been around for quite a while. It's on a ton of different platforms. And basically in this, you are returning home to your family's house in Oregon, or you're playing a woman who's returning home to her family's house in Oregon, and it's completely empty, and you are exploring this house and trying to like piece together the clues to figure out what happened, like the mystery of where your family went. And that's all I want to say. Again, I do not want to spoil this game, because exploring and figuring things out is like the whole point. But again, this is just like such an interesting, I just love games that show how video games are really going to, you know, I think change storytelling and how storytelling is going to evolve with video games. I do want to throw out there that it does look, I feel like the logo and even like the gameplay kind of does look like creepy, eerie, like almost like it's going to be a horror game. It's not a horror game. If you want a horror game, this is probably not the channel for you. But yeah, so just want to put that out there, and also just in case you know don't like jump scares and you're nervous about that, there are no jump scares in this game as far as I can remember. Yeah, so you should be fine. But yeah, I love this one. Again, I love games that are like really intensely focused on story, and where you're exploring and, you know, touching things and, you know, looking at things and investigating in order to, you know, bring out that story from the game, if that makes sense. Yeah, I love it. Lastly is a game that is one of my absolute favorites, and I cannot believe it is this cheap right now. It's on sale for $4.24, and that is Grease. And Grease is the most beautiful, is it a platformer game? I think it's a platformer game. Most beautiful platformer game in the world. Oh my goodness. It is stunning. If you just want a game that is visually beautiful, that is atmospheric, that is melancholy, that is just stunning to look at and listen to, you must play Grease. And if you haven't played Grease yet, you must play it. It's basically playing this girl who is navigating her way through sorrow and grief, and you start off with just everything being very gray, and as you progress you gain more colors back into your world, and it's just like so beautiful. So like I just feel like the developers really cared about like the metaphor of everything, and like there are some moments that, like, if a video game can be poetry, like I think Grease like is there, like that, like a visual poetry is what it feels like. It's so beautiful, and it's another one that like is just a lovely one to like play on a rainy day with a cup of tea when you want to just, like, you know, be chill, be cozy, and a little melancholy. It's the perfect one for that. Yeah, I love this game, and it's under $5, so if you haven't picked it up yet, now is the time. Now we're heading into games that are coming out in the next like coming weeks that I am so excited for. And the very first one is probably like one of my most anticipated games for the end of this year, and that is Beacon Pines. And this one is a like creepy, cozy mystery game that takes place within a book, and you play the reader of that book. And so you are basically like navigating through this story, and you're able to like discover new like story paths throughout the gameplay, and also like influence the actual like story itself, and like jump back and forth between the story. And it just feels like very meta, and I love like meta fiction. One of my favorite things in the world, like books about books, and or books within books. And so to have that like basically in video game format, I am so excited. I cannot wait for this. So yeah, I've been really excited for this one. First of all, the art style just looks so delightful, so cute and cozy, love it. And then just like the idea of like playing as a reader of a book and using like being in that position in order to direct the game. I'm just so intrigued to like experience what that gameplay is like. It just sounds so unique and unlike anything I've personally ever played before. I actually just double checked the release date on that, and that one I think might be out by the time this video goes live. So you might be able to buy that one right now, because it goes out on September 22nd. So that's pretty exciting. I'm really hyped for that now. I'm gonna have this game in my hands so soon, and I cannot wait. The next game that I want to talk about is Tunic, and this one comes out on September 27th, and this one just looks like the cutest little adventure isometric game that I ever did see. You play as this adorable little fox, basically been stranded on this ruined land, and you are tasked with putting together this sacred book, which is basically like the game's instruction manual. And so this game, it does have a lot of combat from what I understand, but honestly, with the main character that cute, I'm kind of okay with it. It just looks so adorable. I love this little fox already, and I've never even played this game. Also, what I think sounds really interesting about this one is that it's so reliant on your ability or your desire to just like sort of explore and like investigate like every nook and cranny. Also, I have to say the thing that really sold me on this game is one of the Steam reviews, which says it's incredibly fun designed. The sense of childlike wonder and exploration with nothing but the game's manual and some notes that feel like a friend left his thoughts and theories on the page is something I didn't know I deeply longed for all this time. I felt like I was playing an old Zelda game without access to the internet in the best way. Loved the freedom the game provides. You can go pretty much everywhere and do things in any order you'd like if you want to. The amount of mechanics I was taught that I was technically able to always do from the get-go is an incredibly fun concept too. And yeah, I definitely get Zelda vibes from what I've seen of the game, but like obviously it's an isometric game, so yeah, it just looks so fun and I'm really excited to dive in. Apologies for any movement. I had to change my battery pack, but we only have one more game. This last one comes out on September 30th. Honestly, I tried to find more games that came out like October, November, December, but there really aren't many. Like basically everything is coming out or came out in September. I don't know why. I assume because of the holidays. Anyways, the last game is Moncage. I don't know if that's how you're supposed to say it, but I'm going with French for some reason. Moncage. This one just looks like a really fun puzzle game. You basically just play with perspective in order to put together these puzzles. And from what I've heard from reviews of people who've played it on other platforms, it's the kind of game where it's just like, it's perfect for people who love riddles or games that like, or puzzles that like kind of make you just feel so dumb. Like when you realize like what the answer is and you're like, oh my gosh, like it was right there in front of my face the whole time. And I like love puzzles like that where it's really just about like paying attention to details. I love getting lost in things like that, especially when I'm like listening to an audiobook. So I feel like this is one that I am going to be getting purely to read or purely to play while I like am reading an audiobook. And yeah, it just looks super engaging and the art also just looks beautiful, which is always a plus. So this is definitely one that I am planning on picking up as soon as I'm able to get my hands on it. And there's not really a ton more to say about it because it's a puzzle game, but yeah, it definitely looks super fun, super beautiful. Cannot wait for it. You might be thinking, but where is Bear and Breakfast? Because obviously I feel like that's probably one of the most hyped up cozy games for this autumn, and basically I just haven't played it yet. So you know, obviously that one is out. It's finally out on Switch. I'm very excited about it. I just haven't had a chance to really dive into it, but I am planning to this autumn. And if you have, I would love to hear your thoughts down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts about any of these games if you've played them, or just what are some of your favorite games that you are looking forward to cozying up to this autumn, or you think other people should cozy up with this autumn. Let me know in the comments down below. And yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have the most wonderful cozy autumn with your cozy autumnal video games, and I will see you next time. Bye!